I grew up with the mindset that, well, this is just something you always will struggle with. This is just something that will always be an issue in the home. Money was never really talked about, but in our situation, our life, the circumstances sort of spoke for themselves at times. Yeah, I moved out at 16, and I very quickly had to learn life. I remember thinking to myself, God, how am I gonna make this work? How is this going to be not only something where I can survive, but I thrive. And I remember just the people around me at the time who I just looked up to, and it was never a concern for them. Money was never a concern for them. In fact, it was the opposite. They were generous people. They were generous with their time. They were generous with their resources. And I remember just being attracted to that. I remember thinking, man, what is it about them that gives them the sense of confidence that they can live so generously? And of course, at a young age, I started to realize, okay, this is biblical stewardship. This is people honoring the Lord. And so I was very open at the time to just saying, God, if this is the fruit of it, I'll do whatever it takes. So when I just moved out at 16, it was actually, I think it was the first year that Joe came to True North. And again, I had no idea what I was doing. And so I heard the church was doing this free event. I said, I can afford it, it's free. So I decided to go. And that day, and I don't just say this in a cliche way, that day literally changed my life. That day, all of a sudden took the years of not understanding finances and gave me an entirely new lens to view everything through, the biblical lens, obviously. But it also gave me the practical tools, the A, B, C, D that we all want, to be able to actually build a life that we wanted. That was the first time I went there. I've gone every year since. I remember coming home from college just to go see Joe, because every year, while the content may not have changed, my life did. And so every time that I came to him, or I listened to him again, I was now hearing him from a new perspective. I was hearing him through a new lens of, okay, this is where I was last year, but here's where I am now because I did all of these things, and here's where I want to be next year. My wife and I, when we first got married, we had a lot of honest conversations about what do we want in our future. And so when it came time for Grant to be born, my wife stopped working, and we trusted the Lord in it. And here we are now with our second. She's an incredible stay-at-home mom, and the joy it brings me to be able to live out my calling, and for her to be able to live out her calling, is financial freedom. That to me is financial freedom. It's not about how much, it's not about the possessions. It's about every day both being able to wake up and feel like we are doing what God has asked us to do, and we are free to be able to do that. Folks may be watching this and saying, yeah, well, that's great. It's a little bit late for me, or I've made too many mistakes, or I've screwed up. I would encourage them, start somewhere. Start somewhere. Start trusting the Lord today. Start budgeting today. Create a plan today. Create a vision today. And if you have a good plan that honors God and you stay diligent, I'm telling you, your life will flourish in ways that you never imagined.